Let's get it going, Jermaine. What's up?
Trying to figure out it's not playing on one side. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter, and to my far right, my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And today's special guest, we have a former national champion, 1981, is a Clemson University, played with a
That's
lot
right.
of legendary players that's been on the show, like Ray
Mm-hmm.
Williams, Bubba Diggs, also played with Chucky Robinson, William
Yeah.
Dean, and also Refrigerator Perry. Today's special guest, we have defensive lineman Jim Scott. How you
Jim
doing,
Scott,
Jim?
what's up, man?
Hey guys, good to be with you tonight.
Yeah, so glad to have you
All
on.
right, thank you, thank you.
Well,
All
it's my
right, for the
pleasure.
people
Thank
that
you for
don't know
inviting me.
you, all right, no problem. For the people that don't know you, Jim, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., and went to a high school called Mount Vernon. It's actually right down the street from Mount Vernon, George Washington's home. I lived there all my life. My dad was a Fairfax County police officer, and I grew up in that atmosphere all my life. And there's two things I ever wanted to do, and that was play football and be a cop. And so,
Okay.
so I was fortunate. I worked hard in high school, hard enough to get recognized, and got recruited, and ended up going to Clemson.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So what age you start playing sports, and what sport was your first love?
Wow. I mean, I played them all. I played basketball until the nicknames Brick was stuck to me quite a bit because that's how I treated the
All
basketball,
right.
like a brick.
Yeah.
I used to bounce people out of the box and foul out every game, probably by the first quarter.
Yeah, out there playing football.
So basketball wasn't one of my sports, but I loved baseball. I was a first baseman, and
Oh,
and
okay.
then of course football. Football was my love. That was my love. I mean, I grew up playing little league football, and I was at little league practice when I was 9 years of age, and our coach was a friend with some Redskins. And of
Oh,
course, you can't call them Redskins anymore. It's the Washington football team. And
yeah.
there was a guy named Mark Mosley, who was a kicker, and Billy Kilmer, a quarterback, who came to our practice. These are legendary players. And at 9 years of age, they introduced me to a concept. They said, hey, you work hard and, study hard and practice hard. You might one day get to play football on a scholarship and then play in the pros. So at 9 years of age, I went home and told my mom and dad, hey, I'm going to get a scholarship and I'm going to play pro football and then I'm going to be a cop one day. They kind of laughed at it. They chuckled at it and said, this is really cute, really cute. But I'm not a prophet or a son of a prophet, but I did prophesy that would happen.
Yeah, you proved them wrong.
That's right, man. So I was blessed.
Yeah, good.
Right.
But
So
man.
what was it like growing up in your community as far as sports and academics and some of the people that were influential in your life?
I mean, I grew up. First of all, I grew up with three brothers and a sister in a small house, and back in the day, my dad had to work a lot of overtime just to provide for the family. I grew up in a multi-cultural neighborhood, which was awesome. And it was very diversified. And there was people that were low income, middle income, and upper income. We were probably lower middle, when my friends were wearing brand new shoes, I was wearing those old Converse canvas shoes, which were only $2 at Kmart. Today, like $50-$60 on Amazon. So I wish I bought stock in them back when I bought them for $2 a piece. But
Chuck Taylor.
I grew up in a great home. My mom and dad raised me in the church and raised me to do the right things in life. They raised me to love God. But I have to be honest with you, I didn't have that love for God for a long time. I love football. And, and when I got to high school, it was football and girls. So, they were very distracting from what I was being raised to love, and that was God. But the people that were influential in my life, I have to say my mom and dad were very influential in my life. I know you've heard this old saying, but as a kid, man, I had a drug problem. Mom and dad had drugged me to church every Sunday, so it's
right.
You hear it over and over again, but it was true in my case. And I praise God for that because it did help me set some values late in life.
Yeah.
Bruce Patrick, he was my high school coach. Man, I tell you, they called him the Bear, and I was the Cub. And he and I, about my sophomore year, back in my day, guys, I'm an old man. I mean, I'm gonna be 60 this year. So back in my day, we didn't have weight rooms. We had Nautilus machines, but we didn't have free weights. So the Bear and I got in a borrowed pickup truck and drove to York, Pennsylvania, and bought a bunch of free weights and brought them back and started a weight room. And that was my junior year, and that's when I started pumping iron and started getting in shape. But he was very influential in me becoming, college, getting a scholarship and playing college football. So I was blessed. Bruce really poured into me and blessed me.
Yeah.
That's great. So you go into, middle school or high school. What position are you playing, and what sports are you playing at that particular time?
Well, going to middle school, I played football and baseball. Then when I got to high school, my freshman year, I went out for the baseball team. But, I played baseball and actually played basketball too. Like I said, I did try out for basketball and made the team my freshman year, but I saw no future in basketball for me. I mean, I couldn't get out of the second quarter. That was second period. I was fouling out. I just basically, I loved football. That was my love. And I played both offense and defensive line. When I was in high school, I made varsity in my sophomore year. And I was an offensive lineman then. But then when I hit my junior year, my junior year, I played offensive line also. But I love defense. I was a defensive player, but they had some older guys playing defense. And then my senior year, they started me on defense. And then they came to me and said, man, we need help on offense. Can you go both ways? I said, yeah. And so I went both ways, played both offense and defense. And I played every special team. I never came off the field. And, I had a motor that people used to call me, compare me to Mean Joe Green. And I mean, that was a huge.
Okay.
I mean, wow. I mean, I look back on that. I say you were wrong, man. That was nothing like Mean Joe Green. But I love the concept because I played with that kind of tenacity, and that's why I was able to get offers to play college football, and I was blessed academically. Man, I tell you, I didn't do very well. I did just enough to get by. I learned to become a student later in life, and but for the longest time, that was secondary. Football was primary, and shooting for my goals of becoming not only a good college football player, but hopefully playing in the league one day. So, but my high school years were fun. Now I also wrestled in high school. My junior year, the wrestling coach came out and said his heavyweight got hurt. I was in the weight room working out. He said, "Would you come and wrestle?" I said, "Hey, I watch wrestling on TV. I'll wrestle." So I didn't have a day to practice before my first match, and I get out there to line up, and I lined up wrong. I didn't have 1 foot in the circle and 1 foot on the line. The official had to show me. I was humiliated. People were laughing at me, and I just started steaming, and the guy I was wrestling was undefeated, and I just did a snap down on him. I slapped him to the ground, threw a half Nelson on him, and pinned him in 32 seconds. So I had a good little wrestling thing going on there, and I finished the season and went on to win the conference, and I lost in the regions with no training hardly at all. He tried to get me to come out the next year, but no. I said, man, I already have my scholarship to play college football. I said, I'm not going to risk getting hurt. I'm just going to work out on weights because I want to play varsity my freshman year at Clemson. So I didn't wrestle my senior year. I did throw shot put and discus also. Didn't do those running things. I'm a lineman, I know KJ's a runner, but man, not me. I was a lineman. So I threw the shot put and discus. So that's kind of about what I did.
Yeah. Hey, talk about playing high school ball with Billy D, Mr. Cool Billy D.
Yeah, you had Billy D on here. Billy and I were teammates in high school. Billy, I kind of played in his shadows. He was a stud. He was a DB and wide receiver, and he was a pretty boy. Pretty boy. I'm a lineman. He's a pretty boy, and he got all the love. He got all the love, man. Those grunts, man. They just use and abuse us. But but Billy and I are very, very good friends.
That's good.
We've lost touch a little bit, but he's an awesome man, and went through the Secret Service and did time there, and I did time in the police department, and so we kind of went in those directions. But I got a lot of love for Billy D.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's good.
So, name some of the rival high schools you guys played against, and some of the notable players that you actually end up seeing down the line in your college career from your area or actually in your state that you guys played.
Well, I'll give you one notable team, and that was T.C. Williams, and that's a team that came from Remember the Titans. That's T.C. Williams, and Coach Yost was still coaching there. We played them. Coach Boone and Coach Yost were still coaching there when we played them. They had a lot of problems in the city of Alexandria, so they had to play their games on Saturday.
Okay.
And so we played on Saturday afternoon, and I had one of the best games of my life. I went in there, and I sacked the quarterback 3 times in that game, and had a bunch of tackles for loss, and so that was really cool. And then, of course, Robinson High School was a big high school we played. We played them my senior year in the regional finals, and the head coach for them was Ed Henry. Now, I don't know if you remember the name Ed Henry, but he was the rival coach in that movie, Remember the Titans, that played TC for the state championship. Ed Henry's a legend in Virginia. He went on to coach at UVA and ended up coaching my brother, who played at UVA also. So, those guys I played with. Now, when it comes to guys that really made it, I got to be honest with you, I don't remember any of the guys really making it big. Now, I will say my senior year, I was picked as the player of the year for the state of Virginia by the Washington Touchdown Club. Billy D didn't get that one. I got it. Yeah. I got an award called the Timmy Award. A beautiful trophy. And I was in the midst of some of the greatest. Dick Butkus was there. Nice. Sonny Jurgensen. There were some great people there, and I was excited. There was Jerry Lewis, the comedian, was the MC for the event. So it was a big wig deal, a black tie event. And that day, they took us on a tour of D.C., and the person, there were 2 other guys that were hanging out with me that were high school nominees. One was a guy named Ricky Gray, who played at DeMatha High School, who actually went to Clemson. And the third one was Herschel Walker, and he was the National Player of the Year. And so I got to converse with Herschel, and he hadn't signed with Georgia. It was between Georgia and Clemson. And he ended up signing with Georgia, but, so we butted heads for 3 years thereafter, and then I played against him in the USFL and butted heads there again with him, there. And, the story about Herschel, I got to tell you, I know I'm kind of jumping off ship here.
That's all good. Go ahead.
The story about Herschel, Herschel's great. I love him. I think he's a wonderful man. He's running for United States Senator in Georgia. And
That's right.
he's gone everywhere. Think about it. I mean, he played in the NFL, played the USFL, had an illustrious career. He
Mhm.
also was on the Olympic bobsled team. I'm not sure if you guys knew
Oh,
that.
okay.
So, and someone once went up there and said, "Hey, Herschel, you know, you've been everywhere. You've been everywhere."
Everywhere.
And he goes, "Is there some place we can take you that you've never been?" And he thought for a minute, he goes, "Well, there is one place I've never been." And he said, "Tell me, I'll take you there." And he said, "The Clemson end zone," because we never scored against anybody.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
but
That was a good one.
he's a class act, and I wish he had come to Clemson because I would have loved to bond it with him and build a friendship with him. But proud of what he's become and what he's doing now, representing his state and running for senator. So.
Hey, did you play any All-Star games?
I played the Virginia. At that time, they only had one All-Star game, and it was the Virginia High School All-Star game, and it was played in Richmond, Virginia, and they didn't play it until like June. And so I was already enrolled in school at Clemson for summer school. I went early, and I went up for the game to play in it. I had to go up there. I had to go up there for a week to play in that game, and I'll never forget. I borrowed a buddy of mine his car, Jeff Cruz. I didn't have a car. Jeff loaned me his old Chevy Impala, and I'm driving up on the highway. The car didn't have air conditioning. It's 100 degrees outside, and I get a flat tire right there on the doggone interstate. I never
Wow.
changed a flat tire in my life. I didn't know how to operate a jack. I didn't know what I was doing. It probably took me 3 hours to change that tire by myself. There was no AAA back in the day,
Yeah,
and no cell phones either. So, but I made it. Played in that All-Star game. I was picked co-captain of the team, and Ed Henry was our coach. Actually, the legendary Ed Henry was the one who coached our team for the All-Star game.
Nice.
Right. Cool. So you go into the recruiting process. You got a lot of colleges looking at you. You know, you're one of the best in your state. Name some of the colleges that were actually recruiting you, the visits you took, and why you chose Clemson over the other schools.
That's a good question, man. I'll tell you, I got my dad created a book for me, and I've got probably over 100 letters in that book from 100 different schools expressing interest in me. And back in our day, we didn't have the internet. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have, basically they communicate you with letters. You send a response form in, say, yeah, I'm interested. And, so I did it. So I didn't do it to every school that sent it to me, but I did several. And, the schools I narrowed down to, the 6 schools, it was Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Miami, Penn State, and Michigan. And those are the schools that I had actually offers from, and they offered me visits. Back in the day, they say, they didn't really offer you a scholarship until you sat down at the table with them and put that piece of paper in front of you. It's a little different today than it was then. But I went on my first visit with Billy D, actually, to North Carolina. We flew together from Washington National Airport to Chapel Hill, sat next to each other, went on our first recruiting trip together to the University of North Carolina. Loved the campus. Man, I'll tell you what, it was just an amazing campus, and it still is. I live in the great state of North Carolina, not too far from that school. But their coach, Coach Crum, man, I'll tell you what, he had the personality of a rock. And I just couldn't play for a guy like that. I mean, the guy that recruited me, I loved him. Fantastic man. But when I sat down with the head coach, I thought, I'm not sure about this. And then I took another visit. I went to Virginia Tech, and Bill Dooley was the coach there, the brother of Vince Dooley, the Georgia coach, and visited Virginia Tech. I loved it, Virginia Tech. Up in the mountains, beautiful atmosphere, just amazing. And they offered me, and I said, well, I've got a couple more visits I want to go on. And North Carolina offered me also. Then I went to my Clemson visit. I went when they played in the Peach Bowl. I saw them play Baylor. Got to watch Michael Singletary play. He played for Baylor that night, and he what he looked like then. He took it to Chicago with him because he was great. And he alone beat Clemson that day. But I visited Clemson, and I absolutely fell in love with that school. Coach Lawson Holland was my recruiter, and I got to see Lawson this past weekend at our reunion. It was what a blessing. I got to, I almost missed seeing him. because I didn't get to the reunion. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I didn't get to the reunion because I was doing something else that I
Okay.
prefer to do. But we got on the bus to leave the stadium, and there Lawson was and his wife Kathy, and I got to see them, and I was so happy. And it was so funny because we get in the cars. I asked them where they were staying, and they were staying in the same hotel as I was. And when we got to the hotel, we were staying right next door to me. What we call it a coincidence. I like call it a God incident. It was divine.
Mm-hmm.
But Lawson recruited me hard, and he showed a lot of love to me, and showed a lot of love to my family. And so we, I think if I did not sign with Clemson, my parents would have probably disowned me. They loved it, and so I chose Clemson. I deferred my visits, decided not to go to Michigan or Miami or Penn State. Great institutions, but little old Clemson, like Dabo calls it, it was little old Clemson in that day.
Oh, yeah.
And little old Clemson, but 1981, we showed that the world that little old Clemson is not just little old Clemson, it's big Clemson. It's working.
Yeah.
So, and I'm grateful. The first year we went 6-5, and it was an awful year. I mean, fans at Clemson don't like 5 losses. Right now they don't like 2.
No.
But the next year we went 12-0, won the national championship, won incredible. I'm just grateful I chose Clemson. That's where I met my wife. I'm blessed. I got an incredible wife. Been married for 37 years, and so and it all happened at Clemson.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. So when you get to Clemson, the first day of practice, you go in the locker room. Who's the player that embraced you as a freshman?
The guy who embraced me was a guy named Jeff Davis. Man, I'll tell you, he is now works for the school for Clemson in the athletic department. He's one of the assistant athletic directors. And JD was real. And I'll tell you what, he was a stud, linebacker. And he poured love in me. And then there was Bubba Diggs. I know you had Bubba on the show.
Bubba Diggs.
Bubba's another one. Man, he poured love into me. My mom loved Bubba Diggs. Oh, my God. My mom, Bubba gave my mom a hug and just, his big old bare arms around her. She thought that is a man, And so Bubba and JD, they showed a lot of love to me. And, they always spoke life into me. I was a goofy old boy from up north, and I like I told you, I didn't come from a whole lot of wealth, and sometimes I didn't fit in. But man, those 2 guys helped me to fit in. There were others, but ones that come to my mind immediately are those 2 guys. They upperclassmen showing me love.
That's right, man.
Right.
So how was it playing D-line on the college level alongside Refrigerator Perry and others, man? How was that?
Well, look, Fridge came in my sophomore year when we won the national championship, and I was backing up All-American Jeff Bryant, who went first round to Seattle Seahawks. I got a little playing time that year, and I got my first collegiate sack against Kentucky. But it was the next 2 years that I started, and I got drafted my senior year. And the reason I got drafted, I'll tell people this, the reason I got drafted is because I had William Perry playing in the middle. It took 2 or 3 guys to block that big old boy. And so I generally only had one man to beat. And thank goodness Big William was there, because, I was able to – I led the team in sacks both my junior and senior year. But I credit William Perry. He they had that man, he was a beast. And he was a beast on the field and off the field. He was crazy. Freaky P was his nickname, and he was awesome. Then of course, I had big old James Robinson over there, and he was a beast also, and Edgar Pickett and Dan Benish, and then Ray Brown. Ray Brown and I, my senior year, Ray Brown was sick my junior year, so he didn't get much playing time. But my senior year, we kind of rotated. Coach Harper put us into 3 plays in, 3 plays out, 3 plays in, 3 plays out. This past week at the reunion, I didn't get to see Ray, but I saw Joe Glenn, who played defensive end also. And Joe said one of his favorite memories is Ray and I getting in a fight on the field because I told him it was my turn to come in. And he said, I ain't coming off. And we're out there in the middle of the field fighting. And Joe said, would one of you please leave so we can play, So, but it was but man, playing defensive line for Clemson was incredible. We had a great coach, Tom Harper. Had some great sayings, he's always had one of the sayings he said was, "You're only as good as your contributing cast," and that's true. If it wasn't for William Perry and my linebackers, Danny Triplett and Chucky Richardson, I wouldn't have been the kind of player I became. Those guys made me who I became, and I'm in debt to those guys. We were a team. We loved each other, and and our defense was stout. Those last 2 years, I think it was my junior year, maybe it was my senior year. We were listed. It was my senior year. We were one of the brochures showed a picture of me with for the guys. It was like a flyer that was made. We were rated as the nation's best defensive line, and but it's because we had contributing player. Our cast worked together, and that's why we were so good.
That's right.
Well, let's take a look at some highlights for that contributing class real quick, and you'll
really?
come back and I'll ask some more questions. For everybody, yes, sir. For everybody that's watching, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you hit the follow button on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well, and Deezer. Go ahead and pull up this clip real quick.
Let's go, man.
Tulane provided the first test on the road in the Superdome, the first time a Clemson football team had ever played indoors. And despite the distractions, the Tigers showed remarkable poise and tenacity, coming back from an 35-0 deficit. The defense showed it was playing for keeps. Tulane's Marvin Lewis discovered that the hard way, compliments of All-ACC tackle Dan Benish. And later, compliments of one of the Bruise brothers, William Devane. That's all the Clemson offense needed. 5 plays later, Cliff Austin crashed over from 4 yards out for what proved to be the only touchdown of the game. In the third quarter, All-American Terry Kennard came up with perhaps the pivotal play of the game when he picked off a Wade Elmore pass at the 1-yard line and ran it back 16 yards to get the Tigers out of deep trouble. When it was all over, each starting defensive back had intercepted a pass, a first in Clemson history. With 4 minutes left in the game, Tulane took over at its own 16, needing only a touchdown on a 2-point play to tie. But instead of yielding, the Tiger defense reeled off 3 straight sacks to squelch any dreams of a miracle tidal wave by the Green Wave. First, Jeff Davis, who had a season-high 20 tackles in the game. Then Joe Glenn. And finally, Edgar Pickett, bringing about a 4th and 40 for Tulane. Tulane never saw the ball again.
Yeah, man. It's 70 music.
Right back some memories for you.
Oh, man. That does. It really does. And wish, it makes you think, it's hard to believe it's been over 40 years since I've been on that gridiron, at Clemson. About 38 years, actually. And, I did chapel service this past week for the Tigers. And Dabo came up to me afterwards and said, "You got any tackles left in you?" And he goes, "You got any tackles?" And I just looked at him and said, "I got one good one for you, Coach, and then I got to go to the hospital." So
that's all I got.
Yeah, I'll give you one good one, but that's all you're going to get out of me, man, because I'm going to be hurting bad.
I'm telling you. At least you got one, though. At least you got one.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man.
Hey, talk about playing with Coach Danny Ford.
Danny, Danny was a heck of a coach. He was a young coach when he won the national championship. I think he was the youngest coach in history at that time to win it. I'm not sure if he still has that title or not, but
he still is.
And
yes.
It's hard to believe. I mean, Danny is not that much older than me. I mean, back in that day when I was 18 years of age, he seemed like a god to you, but now, I got to see him on the field this past weekend, and I realized he's not that much older than me. But Danny Ford was a tough, hard-nosed coach. We were talking in the stands this past week that the boys playing football today, no, I don't mean any disrespect to any of those young men that are playing, but they couldn't quit. They wouldn't survive one of Danny Ford's practices. I mean, this is a kinder, gentler culture of football, and they got rules on how long you can practice for and what temperatures it has to be. And nah, man, it was at 110 degrees. We're still out there for 2.5 hours. I can remember times he had a system, man. He had a system in his tower, and he'd be up in his tower, and the horn would go off and flip a number over. It represented 5 minutes, and we're supposed to go like 24 periods. It never failed. Man, we get to period 12 or 13 or 14. He goes, I don't like it. Take it back to 7. And it never failed. We go back to period 7, and
wow, man. Woo!
And I hated to hear this. I got to be honest, and this is no lie because he would talk like this, but I hated to hear that. Jimmy Scott. When you start telling my name, I didn't like it, man. I said, "Oh crap! I'm going to get an earful with a little bit of tobacco juice, probably shooting in my ear with it." He had that big old chaw in his mouth, and man, he was a tough coach. But let me tell you something: he knew how to win, and he came across as a country bumpkin and a redneck. That's what he wanted people to think of him. But let me tell you something: that man was smart, and he surrounded himself with good people. And and not only that, let me tell you, my sophomore year, he hired Tom Harper as a defensive line coach and defensive coordinator out of Virginia Tech. And Tom was much older than Danny. And, Danny is a young, brand new head coach, first-time head coach in college football. And, a lot of young coaches can get a little prideful and arrogant. But something? He yielded to Tom a lot. And Tom gave him a lot of incredible advice. And what made Danny good is that he had a lot of stamina, a lot of passion, but he also would listen. He would listen to those who had wisdom, and he would apply that wisdom. So Danny's a great coach, and got a lot of respect for the man.
Man,
all right,
man,
cool.
That's good.
Well, let's take a look at another clip. We got the national champion highlight of your season. Let's go ahead and go to it. Make sure you guys hit the notification button on YouTube, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook. Yes, sir. We're back. So at the time, that was Clemson's only national championship. You guys probably rated the highest defense Clemson ever had. as far as the point margin. I saw you guys put up 82 points against some team, 82-24. Talk about that game, 82 points.
Wow, 82-24 was against Wake Forest. As a matter of fact, I pulled this mug down right here, and I don't know if you can see, but on the back it's got all the scores of that season. And it was 82-24 against Wake Forest. And I told you I played second string behind Jeff Bryant. Well, we just came out and routed them so bad. And Jeff, by the second quarter, I was in the game. And, I mean, that was awesome. I'm saying I'd get playing time. And so I thought I was going to get to play the rest of the game. But I played the second quarter, maybe a little bit of the third quarter, and I was out of the game because we were killing them so bad. We were playing young guys. I mean, Steve Berlin was my backup, and then we had some other guys, young guys playing. As a matter of fact, a guy named Crawford, I can't for the life of me, Craig Crawford. Craig Crawford was a running back that year. He was a freshman, and they gave him the ball on the 1 yard line, and we're trying to run the clock out, and he ran 99 yards for a touchdown. And he's in the record book for having that 99-yard touchdown. And Craig played 1 year as a running back, and then he went on to become a linebacker. So, he's in the record book for a 99-yard run in that game. So that was and I'll tell you right now, Coach Ford tried to hold back. We could have scored 100 points that day. It was one of the most lopsided games I've ever been a part of. And I was kind of ticked off because I only got to play a quarter and a half, thinking I was going to get played 3/4 of the game,
Yeah.
But the coach he didn't want us to, he had to get the players out and get the young ones in, trying not to run the score up. But we still did. We kept going and going and going, So that was a heck of a game.
That's right, man.
So talk about, going to the national championship. You guys play against one of the best college running backs at the time.
Mike Rozier.
Maybe a Heisman. Mike Rozier. Was Roger Craig there too?
Roger Craig too. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And they had the Outland Trophy winner that year at center. And I can't remember his name, but Wayne Perry just he abused him. Wayne was a true freshman, and this guy, I can't remember his name, but he was an Outland Trophy winner. And Perry had a vengeance, saying, no, I should be the Outland Trophy winner, because he had dominated that guy all game long. But we went into that as a Cinderella team. We were 11-0 at the time. People, didn't know who Clemson was, little old Clemson. They didn't know who we were. And we were number one because we were the only undefeated team in the nation at the time. And, of course, we beat Georgia Bulldogs, who was the defending national champions. And so going into that game to play Nebraska, we were the underdogs. We were undefeated, but they were picking Nebraska to beat us. And the way they approached the game, at least what we heard, was that's just little old Clemson. We're going to whip up on them. We heard that their players didn't have curfews. But man, I'll tell you, Danny was tough on us. We had curfews. We practiced hard. It wasn't a vacation. We knew what we had to do. And everyone contributed in that game. I didn't play a whole lot in that game. Actually, I played none at defensive end. Jeff Bryant played the whole game. I played special teams. My claim to fame in that game is I set the wall on a punt return for Billy D. And Billy D ran it down to the 10-yard line and set a score up. I took out 3 people. I hit one. He took out 2 of his guys. That's my claim to That's my claim to fame in the national championship game.
Yeah, clean up, man.
I said, he gets all the love, I just do the blocking. But yeah, we went into that game with a chip on our shoulders because no one gave us much of a chance. And little old Clemson came to play. And when that game started, we knew we were going to win from the very beginning. From the moment we stepped up that field, we knew we were going to win that game. And seeing Perry Tuttle catch that, get that touchdown in the end zone, and just the way everything unfolded. I mean, we dominated the game. Now they made a comeback on us. I think we won 22-15, but it wasn't close until the end. They got that 15th point in the fourth quarter towards the end. So. Okay. What a thrill that was,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How special was it to be a part of that 81 team? Because I saw y'all at homecoming, man. Y'all had a little bond going at halftime.
I tell you, you'll never ever forget that year, and you'll never forget your teammates. And yeah, there is a very special bond amongst us. I have not been able to go all the reunions because I coached high school football for many years, for about 15 years, along with being a pastor, and so it was hard to get down to for some of these reunions. So I made part of the reunion. I didn't get to go to the part where they got to sit and enjoy the meal and hear the speeches and all that stuff. And I was doing the chapel service for the team at that point, and I chose that over the reunion because that's my calling. That's my game day. When I get a chance to do that, share my faith with a bunch of good young men, that's my game day. And so I did that, and then we got down there. But in the stands, I got to see a bunch of them, but we were sitting in two different locations. But once I hit the field, wow, I saw all of them. And it was just chills up my spine. And then, man, when they announced our team, I didn't think we'd get the reception we did. But KJ, you said you were there. It was loud. I mean, it was loud. And we had a couple clowns on the field said, they were trying to get us off the field, and they were running on the field, jumping up and down, getting the fans into it. And
that's right.
It just brought. I'm not going to lie to you. I had tears in my eyes and chills up my spine because the memory.
Tears of joy.
I'll never, ever, ever will forget that national championship game, but also just my days at Clemson. They are some of the greatest days of my life, and I learned a lot of great lessons there.
Very cool.
That's right.
So you in your career, I guess your senior year's 83, correct?
83 is my senior year. That's correct. Yes.
All right. So you entered in the combine, or you had a pro day. What teams were looking at you at that time?
Well, actually, I got invited to two combines, and I went to both of them. Back in that day, one was in New Orleans and one was in Seattle. The one in New Orleans was predominantly most of the football teams came to that one, and the one in Seattle was, I can't remember, I know it was San Francisco, Seattle, Dallas, and Buffalo. Those are the four teams that were in the Seattle one. Okay. And, so, you don't know absolutely who's looking at you and stuff like that, but, I mean, sometimes you get a word here and a word there. I did really well at the combines. I showed my speed off the line of scrimmage, and the one in Seattle, I had the fastest speed coming off. They do it different today, but they would put something on the back of your pants, and then, as soon as you fire out, and it would measure your speed. That's how old I am. But they measure your speed, and I had the fastest time coming off, and I had, I got on the elevator. I'll never forget. I get on the elevator. I got down to the floor, and on walks Tom Landry of the Dallas Cowboys. And, I grew up in Washington, D.C. and was a Redskin fan all my life. But, man, I respected and revered Tom Landry. And so I quickly introduced myself. I said, Coach Landry, I'm Jim Scott. He goes, yeah, from Clemson, right? And I was like, yeah. So I'm thinking, he's looked at me, hallelujah.
Yeah.
And he said, you're a good ball player, and we're looking at you. And I said, that just kind of got me all excited. And so, San Francisco showed some interest in me when that combine. And so, basically they showed you some love, and I had a great showing at it, strength-wise and speed-wise. Then, of course, then draft day came around. And once again, ESPN would cover, the first couple rounds at those days, and then they stopped covering it. And no internet, so you just got to sit by your phone.
And wait.
Sit by your phone and wait.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in my dorm room. My roommate was in there with his girlfriend, and I was in there with my fiance at the time, now my wife, and we were doing wedding invitations because we were getting married in June. And all of a sudden the phone rings, and I can't remember his name, but he said, he introduced himself. He was the GM for the San Francisco 49ers. He said, Jim, we just want to make sure you have not signed with a Canadian Football League team or a USFL team at this point. We're in the 6th round. We're about to go to the 6th round. We're going to pick you. And I was stoked, man. I said, San Francisco? That's cool, man. You know,
Yeah, man, California, baby.
I was really stoked, and this is when they started becoming dominant, you know.
Mhm.
And so I sat there and I was all excited. I look over at my fiance, who, like I said, was, you know, I ended up, you know, we got been married now, and
Oh, yeah.
I could tell she didn't express the joy that I was expressing. Some years later, I find out that she started praying, God, please don't let us go to San Francisco. Please, God, don't. Please don't let us go. And so when the phone rang, I thought it was going to be the guy from San Francisco, and it was George Young, the general manager of the New York Giants, and say, Jim, we had the 3rd pick in the 6th round. We just chose you. Congratulations. You're a New York Giant. And my jaw just dropped because, I'm a Redskin fan. Giants, you know? And when I said Giants, my wife got a big smile on her face because she's from Jersey. And so, you know, she prayed me off the West. She prayed me off the West Coast and put me on the East Coast, you know?
Yeah.
Dang. God bless her. God bless her. I love her. I still love her. I'm still married to her. But doggone it, why does she have to pray for that? You know?
Oh,
So I got drafted by the Giants. Yeah, in that 6th round. And yeah, she prayed. I tell you what, if I won something, I tell her, hey, would you pray for this, please?
oh yeah. No problem. It worked. It worked.
You know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you go to the Giants. You meet Parcells. Who's the player that welcomes you in the locker room first day of work?
First workout, I go in there. I start working out, and I'm doing power cleans. And I got 315 pounds on the bars, and I'm popping them up, you know. And we're doing hang cleans basically, not coming from the ground, drop to these, and explode up. And I'm
Yep.
popping off. I'm popping off about 8 of those at 315. And in walks Lawrence Taylor. And he walks in there and he says, move up, boy. And he takes those weights, and he had no technique at all. He was just, I mean, yeah, he was naturally strong. He kind of rolled it up his body and got it up again and threw it down. He goes, that's how you do it, you know? And I thought, oh, my word. And then there was a guy named George Martin. Now, George Martin was a defensive end, famous, great defensive end, played many, many years. And that man was a godly man, and he took me under his wing. There was another one. There was Jeff Rutledge, who played quarterback, backup quarterback. Another guy was very kind to me. And Leonard Marshall. Oh, my goodness. Leonard was a character. But, man, he was off the field. He was one of the nicest men you ever met. So they showed me a lot of love, you know. I ended up getting cut by the Giants. You know, I didn't make it. They only had the 45-man roster. They didn't have – today, well, I think it's 53-man roster, plus and they got a practice squad. And it was a lot harder to make it back in the day. And I got cut 2 weeks before the final cuts. I was kind of blown away, but I kind of knew. I saw the writing on the wall. It wasn't going to happen. They didn't play a defensive scheme that I really fit into. I was not a powerful player. I was a finesser. I played with speed. And they ran a 3-4 front, and running a 3-4 front in that tackle position, you got to play with a lot of power. And so when I got cut, I was devastated. I mean, I was just devastated. I never thought football was going to end. But then I got a call, and I got picked up on waivers by the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, of course, they're not St. Louis anymore, but they were. And I went there. I had about 4 practices with them, and then we played Minnesota Vikings. And I played most of the game, and I had a phenomenal game. I believe I had a sack, a fumble recovery. And so the final cuts was coming down to the wire. We were sitting in the hotel. We're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And at 4 o'clock rolled around. I think I had the final cut in by 5. 4 o'clock rolled around. It looks like I'm going to be on the team. I'm so excited. And there's a knock on the door. And I was the very last player they released. You know, and they asked me to stay in town. They said, hey, we'll try to find a place for you, and maybe there'll be an opportunity for you during the season. And at that point, I was newly married. I said, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go work on my degree and finish it and go back to Clemson. And I wasn't there very long until I got a call from the USFL, and I went down to Orlando and played for the Orlando Renegades. And I played for one coach that I would say was the favorite coach of all time. I mean, he made football so much fun.
Yeah, man.
And it was Lee Corso. He was our head coach. And the way he is on game day was the way he was as a coach. And
Nice.
Lee was a great coach to play for. Out of all the coaches I ever played for, and I loved all the coaches, with the exception of one. I'm not going to tell you that one, but it happened to be that team up there on the northeast quarter. No, I'm not going to say, but but out of all the coaches I ever played for, Lee Corso, he just made the game fun, and so I got my love for the game back, because I'll be honest, I was losing my love.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I played in USFL until the league folded, and sat out a year because it folded in the fall of, what was it, fall of '85 or '86?
Mhm.
Fall of '86, yeah, fall of '86. And so I sat out that season, and then the next season of '87, I signed as a free agent with the New York Jets, but I didn't have it in my heart anymore. I was up there at preseason camp. I was doing really well.
Oh, yeah.
But I always said, when I don't have it in my heart anymore, I'm not going to play anymore.
That's right.
Because I knew that's when you get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Hurt. So,
That's right.
I walked away from the game in the fall of '87, and that's when I went into I went back to Northern Virginia and started weighing my options. And next thing you know, I went on to the police department in Fairfax County, Virginia, and did that for 10 years. So, but it's been I've got a lot of great memories. I tell people when I do a lot of speaking engagements, and I know you've heard the old saying, but I'll say it anyways. I say, yes, I played in the NFL, and for you, it's National Football League. For me, it's not for long.
That's right, man.
Yep.
That's right.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, so let everybody know what you got going on now, and I know you probably have a lot of engagements and a lot of motivational speaking as well. If somebody wanted to catch one of your messages, do you have any social media platforms where you speak on?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm a pastor of a church. When I left law enforcement, I did 10 years in law enforcement, and I felt like God was calling me to work with teenagers. And so I went to work with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I was right down my alley. And I did that in the Virginia Beach area for 5 years. And I was a director of the ministry there, helped establishing FCA clubs all over Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, up in the peninsula area, Norfolk, Hampton, all those areas. And so I did that for 5 years, and then a church called and asked if I'd consider being a youth pastor at their church here in Greensboro, and I said no. I said, I'm happy. And then he asked me the question, well, will you pray about it? I said, what am I going to say, no? So I prayed about it, and one thing led to another, and I felt like God was saying, Jim, it's time to go. Time to go. And so we came here to Greensboro, North Carolina, and I served as a youth pastor in a local church here for 12 years. During those 12 years, I coached high school football also, and basically I became. I wore a basic. I tell people I wore a hat that had 3 C's on it. Now, I really didn't wear a hat, but that's what it's a metaphor. And the 3 C's stood for coach, chaplain, and cook, because I cater. I love to cook.
Right.
I got a catering business on the side. I've been told that my brisket is as good as any brisket they've ever had.
Say something, man.
Yeah, my barbecue, I can make some serious barbecue. And but I do. As a matter of fact, before this event, I cooked for 15 ladies. They're downstairs in my house eating right now with my wife. That Bible study. So and I made them a pineapple seasoned grilled salmon and some teriyaki chicken and some roasted garlic potatoes and carrots and a big old salad. So I love to cook and feed people. I love people being happy. So,
man, we got to
so
try
I wore
that.
those 3 C's. I cooked for the team. I did pregame meal every Friday night. I did chapel every Friday night. I went out and coached defensive line every Friday night, and I did that for 15 years. And I quit coaching a couple years ago. Because when I left the church I was at as a youth pastor, and I started a church. I planted the church here. It's called Awaken Church. And I planted that church back in 2013. And I tried coaching while being a senior pastor. I did it for about 3 years or 4 years, I think it was. And it just got pretty monotonous and hard. So I had to step away from it. And, I miss it, but I like the time I get now, I didn't realize how much time was being consumed by it. But now I'm the pastor of a church called Awaken Church here, and we meet in a little storefront. We used to meet at the high school until the pandemic, and we're in the process of hoping to either. I don't want to build a church. I'm not into cosmetics. Give me a warehouse. I'll renovate a warehouse, make it look nice inside, and we'll have a great church. I don't believe in spending money on cosmetics. That's God's money. I want to spend it on feeding the homeless and doing missions and trying to do things for the community. So give me a warehouse, and that's what I'm going to do. And but right now we're in a storefront, and we run about 140 to 150 people a week right now. We run 2 services, and it's exciting. It's exciting. Seeing lives change, and that's what it's all about. And like I said, now Sundays are doing chapel speaking engagements are my game day. Did I lose you guys?
Oh, we're still there.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Okay. So basically, I mean, to find me, you can go on Facebook, and it's awaken-church.org. Awaken-church.org. We're on YouTube also, awaken-church.org. Every Sunday morning our services are live, but then we post them on there for people to watch. What was really unique, I got to tell you something. What was really neat, there's Ray Williams saying, God bless you, Jim.
Yeah.
What was really unique was
what's going on, Ray?
at that reunion, it just tenderized my heart when I had some of my ball players, my teammates saying, Jim, I watch you on Sunday mornings. I watch you on Sunday mornings. And that just meant the world to me. And another player came up to me and said, Jim, your act of kindness that you showed me when I was an underclassman at Clemson, that act of kindness, that what you did, I won't go into detail, but he said, that's what made me want to be a Christian. And so I believe in loving people where they're at, and trying to make a difference in their lives.
That's right.
Talking life into them. And I believe life is through Jesus Christ. So,
right.
Yeah. So you've definitely been a blessing on our show.
I've lost volume. I can't hear you guys now. I don't know why.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you can hear me. I can't hear you, though.
Can you hear me?
I'm going to hit.
Yeah.
Mike's still on.
Okay. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you guys. It's going off.
Okay.
What about me?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I can talk forever, so I mean, so I don't know.
Wow.
I can't hear you guys, but I guess we're close to the end of the show. But let me just say this: I'm grateful. Thank you for letting me come in on this, having a little platform here to talk about my past and talk about my present, I'm just grateful that the Lord has blessed me with some talent that I was able to play ball, and now I get to do what I do and try to make a difference in lives of people. And so appreciate you guys. I appreciate your show, and I show some more love.
All right,
guys. God bless you. Have a great, great night. And I tell you, let me just leave you with a saying that I live by. I'll just give you that. I'm a very passionate person, if you haven't figured it out yet. I'm very passionate. And I live by this principle. Passion must marry persistence in order to be consistent. And so that's something I tell people often. If you're going to be passionate about something, be persistent about it. Let it marry persistence, because if you do that, the outcome will be consistency. And that's what people need to see in us. They don't need to see half-hearted people. They need to see consistency. And so I try to be that way. God bless you guys. Y'all have an awesome night.
All right.
Thank you for letting me be a part of your show.
That's right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. For everybody watching, make sure you subscribe, tune in to the next episode. Just like we say, I was saying, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Until next time, you guys take care, wear your mask, and peace.